Hello and welcome to a new Hangout on Air. My name is Sibel, and today in our Q&A I will be answering your questions regarding conversion tracking. So in our last Hangout on Air we discussed the importance of conversion tracking. What is conversion tracking? How do you track it? How can you identify what are your goals? What are the important things that you'd like to measure and to keep an eye on? It could either be purchases, it could be subscriptions, and all that you can keep an eye on and you can measure using conversion tracking. We've received a bunch of questions from you on our Google Partners page and over the phone and email, and we've selected some of the most frequent questions and some of the questions that are quite interesting that we'd like to look into them with you today. So the first question for today is conversion tracking limited to the examples that we gave in the presentation last week? So in last week's presentation, we gave examples of how you can track activities on your website, whether it's someone pressing on a certain button on the website or interacting with a certain video on your website, or if it was landing on a certain page, as for example the thank you page. As well, we discussed how we can find if people were interacting with your social media pages, such as Facebook, on your and you can see that information in analytics. So, can I track WhatsApp groups, group joins, or click on a particular image? If so, how do I go about doing that? Well, in terms of tracking WhatsApp group joins, because certain apps such as WhatsApp or certain social media platforms do not give us, or there's no access on their scripts, you would not be able to set event tracking on the application itself. So you cannot put a tag in order to track how are people, if people are clicking on the add group or join group on WhatsApp. So let's say you want to track a certain activity coming from WhatsApp. What we would recommend, and it's the same process if you want to track, let's say you're sending out an email, a promotional email, and you want to track if someone clicked on that, clicked on the link that was sent via email or that was sent on WhatsApp, and because of clicking on that link, they actually converted. To have that information, to see the interaction on WhatsApp and on the email, what we would recommend you do is set manual tagging, or in other words, add a small snippet on the URL that you're sending out either via email or via WhatsApp. We've discussed in our earlier Hangouts how you can add manual tags or small UTM snippets by which you set the source as WhatsApp, the channel and all that you create it. You use the URL builder to do that. You create those small snippets, you add them in the main URL, you send that URL to WhatsApp groups, to certain WhatsApp contacts, similarly to certain email addresses, and if someone clicked on those URLs and entered the website and converted, you can easily go back to analytics and you will see that the source was WhatsApp, or the source was the email that actually allowed you, or that actually got you that conversion, and you would see that under acquisition, source, and mediums. That is the best way to track activities happening on applications or platforms that you do not have access to the coding of it. Similarly, if you want to track if people are clicking on a particular image, if that image is on your website and you have access to, of course, because it's your website, so you have access to the snippets of that website, you can just go ahead and do event tracking, where you add the event tracking snippet that we discussed, or the tracking code that we discussed in our last Hangout, and then we go into analytics, into your events page, and you will see how many conversions you have received or how many people actually interacted with that particular image that you are interested in focusing on. So if you have any questions about how to create the UTM snippets, or how to create those extra snippets, do reach out to us. We would help you out. We would help you out with using the URL builder as well. The second question for today: when we talk about the conversion funnel, are we talking about desktop experience and analytics only, or this includes mobile device analytics and experience as well? That is also a question we received over our Google Partners page 2 weeks ago. So in our last hangout, we were discussing the conversion funnel that gives you a better idea, or yeah, it gives you a better idea of how the people navigated through your website. So let's say a user entered your website, went to the first page, then went to the second page, and after they went to page C, for example, the third one, they actually dropped and did not proceed with conversion. So it gives you a better understanding of how people are navigating. If there's an issue about one page, with one page that you might probably need to edit, it could be that it was so slow to open, so the speed loading time was very slow, or it could be that people are not interacting with it very well. Then that means you need to go back and focus on it. So it will give you such insights. That's one of the many examples, or yeah, one of the many insights that the conversion funnel can provide you. Now, when we were talking about a conversion funnel, I was talking about the whole experience, desktop and mobile. When you're looking into the conversion funnel, assuming that you would like to see how people are interacting with your mobile-friendly website. So you have a website that you use it on desktop, and you have the website that also opens on mobile, and you're interested to see the experience of users going into your website via mobile, and you're interested to see that conversion funnel, you can do that by filtering for mobile traffic. That is if you have a mobile-friendly website and people can navigate your website through their mobile phones. Now, if we are talking, or if you're asking here about applications, mobile apps, you would need to set mobile app tracking, and you do that by, first of all, creating a property in your Google Analytics account. It would be a new app property. So for every app, you can set a new app property, and then a tracking ID would automatically be generated. Then you'll have to download Google Analytics SDK for Android or iOS from that same account. So from that same analytics account, you download Google Analytics SDK, and of course you follow the developer guides. There's steps with the developer guide for Android and developer guide for iOS, or even you can give us a call and we'll support you on that. And you implement tracking via the SDK. So just by including the tracking ID, by doing so, all the information about how people are navigating within your mobile app would be translated in the analytics account automatically. So that way you would have a better understanding. So when everything we discuss in terms of experience, in terms of the analytics or the amount of information analytics can provide us, we are talking about both desktop and mobile. Third question, why do I see a conversion recorded before conversion tracking was installed? We've had this question come up a few times recently, and it's quite normal to see that. So what's meant in this question is, let's say you look into your analytics and you saw that a goal quest was completed on the 15th of June, for example, just assuming, throwing out a date here, but you've set an analytics code, or you've set tracking on the 20th of June, which is way after the day that you actually saw that conversion. So here you might be, so we see that people get worried here. Is my conversion code not working properly? Is analytics not working properly? What's going on? So it's, as I mentioned earlier, it is quite normal. What happens is Google AdWords conversion tracking reports on the day of the click or view through occurred, and not on the date of the conversion. So again, it goes back to the day of the click. Now, so when let's say a visitor goes into your website and clicks on a creative or views a banner on the website, we place a conversion tracking cookie on the user's machine with a 30-day expiry period. So that's the first action we do. So as a direct answer to that question, the reason that you're seeing conversions recorded before the conversion tracking was installed is just because of that cookie that we are setting or replacing on the machine of the user that is clicking on your creative. So let's go back to our example. So let's say the user clicked on your AdWords on the creative from your AdWords account on the 1st of June. The conversion tracking code snippet on the 1st of June was not yet installed. You went on the 15th of June and you installed the conversion tracking snippet on the website. Okay, as well the analytics snippet. It could be both the conversion and the analytics snippet. So the click happened on the 1st, and then you went on the 15th. That same visitor that clicked on your on the ad on the 1st of June or interacted with the website on the 1st of June comes into the website, returns to the website on the 16th of June. So now with the cookie, we knew that that is the same user. The cookie identified that user. He went in on the 16th of June, which is one day after he added the conversion snippet, and he actually made the purchase, or he actually completed the goal then. He was interested, he got his information, he did his research, went back and did that purchase. When you go into analytics or into AdWords and you look into the date of the conversion, you will see that the sale was attributed for the 1st of June, and that is the date of the click. So it's not the 15th of June, and it's not the 16th of June. So it's not the day you added the conversion snippet, and it's not the day that the purchase actually happened. However, it's the day that our cookie identified that the user has clicked on your ad. So it's quite normal to see a conversion recorded before the conversion tracking was installed. If you have any other questions regarding discrepancies between such things, please do reach out to us, and we would give you better insight or more specific insight regarding your website. Because as well, these discrepancies could result from having code set incorrectly. But in general, as I just mentioned, there are other reasons. Now, let's go to the fourth question. Why are my goals not being tracked in Google Analytics? As well, a very frequent question that we get. People go back to analytics. We've set the code. We have everything. Why isn't it working? I've waited for more than 2 weeks. What's going on? So in that case, we usually look into different factors. So there's many reasons that a goal would not be tracked properly or is not tracked at all in Google Analytics. It could be as simple as the goal URL is inputted incorrectly. So like last time we discussed that one type of goal tracking would be a URL-based goal, by which you said that I would like to say that a goal is completed when someone lands on a specific page. Usually it's a thank you page. So you just copy the thank you page and you paste it in the URL, into the goal URL field when you are creating the goal. Now, usually we recommend you go back to the goal URL and just verify that you are setting the correct website. Just as a small tip, we do ignore the domain name entirely. So Google Analytics ignores the domain name entirely. So let's say your thank you page is www.amsite.com/one/thanks.html. You can just go ahead and type in the goal URL field /1/thanks.html. So you can disregard the msite.com or the domain, and it will work, and it will take it, or it will function properly as well. So do not worry about that point. Now, it's very important to note that if you are selecting regular expression match as the match type for your goal, so as we mentioned earlier, part of the criteria of setting up a goal is setting up a match type. So if it was regular expression match, you'll need to escape periods with a backlash. So if you have a period, make sure before it, or dot, make sure before it you have a backlash. So in the case of /1/thanks.html, you need a backlash or a slash between the thanks and the period or the dot, just for the regular expression match to work properly. Another as well very simple reason that we would usually look into is that the goal page is not tagged with a tracking code. You could by mistake have added the tracking code by mistake on something on a page other than the thank you page. So because it's not on the thank you page, Google Analytics has no source of information, it will not track this page, and it will not report as a goal. So in order to verify that you are on the right page, we recommend you you go to your analytics setting page, you select check status at the top right of the table. So just with the check status setting, you can verify that you are tracking the correct page. As well, we recommend using Tag Assistant, which I will discuss later as well today. So the Tag Assistant is a Chrome extension that you can easily download, and by having it, you will allow that Chrome extension to read the website and tell you if the snippet, if there is a conversion code, whether it's a conversion code coming from AdWords or a conversion code coming from analytics, if it's actually there, and if it was there, if it were there, is it set up correctly or not? So that way you have an insight. And what's interesting as well, if it's not set up correctly, it identifies the issue, so you can directly go ahead and resolve it. So I would recommend that you all, as the moment you start putting tags on your website, go ahead and use the Tag Assistant. So simply just verify that you have the tracking code on the page. Another reason that the goals might not be tracked in Google Analytics, it could be the incorrect match type settings. So the match type begins with match or equals to match regular expression match. So you have a different type of matches. They have to always be set. You have to make sure that you're setting the correct type. We as well went into details about the different types of expression matches, or different types of the different match types in our earlier hangout. So you can refer to that, or you can as well reach out to us and we can give you more insight on what match type is more appropriate for you. So just note, for instance, just note that regular expression match will match regular expressions in the goal URL and funnel step fields. The other match types will not accept regular expressions. And the easiest way to handle that, just go for the default feature or default setting, which begins with match. That would be simpler for you at the first stages. Other reasons would be, and that is a very prominent reason that we get, or after we diagnose why aren't goals being tracked, it is filters are rewriting the URLs. So if you're using Google Analytics filters to rewrite your URLs, you'll need to make sure that your goal settings reflect these changes. So you need to remember, filters used to modify the URL are applied to the raw data coming into your account before the goals are processed. So you need to make sure that what you're setting as a filter, it will filter the URL, it will filter the raw data coming in, and in turn it will filter the goals that are being processed. So if you're filtering what you might have set as a goal, it will not show in your analytics account. So for example, if your site's URL is www.mysite.com/directory/download/file.html, and you have modified by a filter to look like /download/file. So this larger URL, you modified it by a filter just to look smaller as /download/file. Your goal should match the final filter URL of /download/file and not /directory/download/file.html. If you did not alter the final URL, the final filter URL in the match or in the goal URL, it will not appear for you. So you need to make sure that the way you filtered out that URL has to be the exact same way, or it looks exactly the same as the one that you're putting in the goal URL in order for analytics to communicate it accurately. And finally, finally, one of the reasons that your goals are not being tracked is your goal page is a download. So example, a PDF page. So Google Analytics will not track downloads as direct goals. Instead, you'll need to use the virtual page or events for the download link. There, you would find in our support, in our help center. In the help center, you would find the instructions on how to track downloadable files, such as PDFs. However, and the main reason about that, reason behind that, is that you cannot add a tracking code on the PDF file, as you do not have access to the script of the PDF files. You can track when people click on the download button by using event tracking as an alternative. So it's either you track PDF files using the instructions, that you find in the help center, or you go ahead and do event tracking. So the fifth question for today: I do not have a thank you page after my client submits his contact information. How can I track how many people actually submitted the form after clicking on my ad? That is a very important question as well, and we've discussed this, the answer to that a few times already. The main reason, or in many cases, you might request certain information from your clients. For example, let's say you're in real estate. You usually have a form by which you request people, when they enter the website, to type in their email address, their phone number, what type of apartment are they interested in, and you give them a ring back later on, or you call them back, or you email them in order to set an appointment. And users just click submit, and that is it. It does not direct them to any thank you page, and there's no thank you page where you can track. So it's very interesting to see the information by which did people actually submit that form after finding you through your ads, so that they click on your ad, go into your website, submit the form, or was it via other, was it the conversion due to another source or another navigation? In order to see that information, and since you do not have the thank you page to track it, in that case you would need to go to event tracking that we've discussed in our last hangout. So make sure you add a snippet, the event tracking snippet that you can easily create. Just copy it and paste it on your page script, and automatically the system will say that this will tell you when someone actually submitted the URL, and after noticing from where it came, so because it was from the ad, and then they clicked on the ad, they went into the website, submitted the form, you would have a better insight on that one. So don't worry if you don't have a thank you page, just go for event tracking there. As I mentioned earlier, if you need any help setting up event tracking, do reach out to us, as it's slightly different than tracking a thank you page in terms of snippets or in terms of tracking code. Now we go to the sixth question for today. Why can I see goal URLs where there is no event configured? As well, that is a question that we have received a few times already over the past few months now. And what's meant here is when you go back to analytics, you'll notice that the goal URL is set as, let's say, www.example.com/pagec. However, you have the button that people should interact with on page B, not on page C. But why? But it's showing on analytics that the conversion or the goal was completed on page C, which as well might make you worry that something is wrong there. So the reason behind that. So to explain the reason behind that, let's have a scenario. Let me give you an example. It would make it a bit easier. Let's say, go back to the page B, page C example. Let's say you have 3 pages: www.example.com/page A, another one www.example.com/page B, and the third one www.example.com/page C. And you have an event or a button that says apply now configured on page B. Okay? And when people click on that button on the apply now, you define it as a goal in Google Analytics. So in reality, or what we would expect is when we go back to analytics and we look at the goal URLs, or on which URL did the completion happen, it should always appear on /page B. However, in such cases, or as in the reason behind this question, it's not appearing on /page B. However, it's appearing as /page C that does not contain that event. So the reason behind that is, first of all, the visitor goes into the home page, so it's /page A, and then navigates to page B where the apply button is there, but doesn't click there immediately. So that happens in a scenario when people do not click immediately on the button, however, goes and opens page C as a new tab. So they just right-click on page C because they saw a button for page C, clicks it as a right tab, so you end up having on your browser page B that contains the Apply Now button and page C as well. They're open together. Then they return, or they focus on page B. So while page C is open, they go to page B and they click on the Apply Now button on page B. When you go back to analytics, you'll see that the analytics has recorded the goal URL as page C because that was the last recorded page view preceding the event button being clicked by the visitor. So even though there's no event defined on /page C itself, it will be the recorded goal URL. So as well, it's normal, and I would recommend to verify that. Just go and look at the conversion funnel, see how people are navigating between the pages before they actually proceed with the conversion. As well, any questions about that, do reach out to us. Before the last question for today, so our 7th, can I link my MCC to analytics and import goals? I've received this question last week, actually, and what happens here is you cannot, an MCC account does not have its own Google Analytics account, okay? However, and by that, you cannot. No, you cannot. So just the direct answer to that, you cannot link your MCC to analytics directly. However, but if you are the admin of the MCC, you have access to the analytics account. So let's say the MCC's admin is abc@gmail.com, and you have administrative access on the analytics account on abc@gmail.com. You can, when you go into analytics, you can easily link the child account to the Google Analytics account. So when you go into analytics and you click on link AdWords and analytics, so link AdWords, usually it's in the admin page. You click on link AdWords, you would have the MCC ID appearing for you, and below it all the child accounts, and you have the option of selecting which child accounts you're interested in linking to that analytics account. Now, although it's possible to track multiple websites within a single analytics account, so because clearly when you have more than one child account, it means it's more than one client, it means we are trying to track more than one website. You can track more than one website by creating different properties on an individual analytics account and linking it to different child accounts. However, as a recommendation or as a suggestion, we do recommend that you have a separate analytics account for each AdWords, for each of your AdWords account or for each of your child accounts, just to simplify the setup process and ensure fewer setups, access, and easier to troubleshoot any data problems. So in that case, linking MCC to analytics directly is not possible. The MCC admin can link the child account if he has access to the analytics account, but just to make things simpler, have a separate analytics account for every child account. And now we go to our last question for the day, and that is quite an interesting one. Along with analytics, I use a third-party tool that tracks activity on my website, and I'm seeing a lot of discrepancy. How can I make sure analytics is tracking properly? So, lots of big companies and lots of agencies, they work with analytics along with other third-party tools that has very similar functions as, or similar tracking functions as analytics. And it's normal to see some value changes, but there's always this doubt, or clients are always worried, what's correct? Is it my third-party tool? Is it my analytics? So the first thing we look into, and when we have such an issue, we want, before we proceed and try to see the differences of how analytics is tracking versus a third-party tool, we go through checking the code itself. In many cases, analytics could be not tracking correctly, and that would be due to having the tag set up incorrectly. So as we discussed, so we download the tag assistant that we have discussed earlier, so the Chrome extension that we discussed earlier today. We download that when we diagnose or we verify that the tag is set correctly. Assuming that the tag is set correctly, we go ahead and look at the differences in terms of how the third-party tool are tracking certain information versus how analytics is tracking certain information. So, to be very brief, as third-party tools they vary a lot, and I do not know exactly which third-party tool we might be in question currently. It's important for you to know a couple of points. When analytics is tracking visits, for example, or sessions, the sessions are defined by 30 minutes of inactivity. So if a visitor is away from your website for 30 minutes or more, their session cookie is removed. So if they go back into the website after 30 minutes, it will equate to 2 sessions and not 1 session. However, in third-party tools, that might not be the case. A session could be 1 hour, or a session could be 10 minutes. It's based on the third-party tool. So that is for example, one difference you need to look at. The bounce rate, another metric that might be different or might be measured differently in analytics. In analytics, it's defined as a single interaction hit and then an exit from the website. It's just end of session. Other third-party tools, that might not be the case as well. Goals. In analytics, a goal can only be incremented or counted once per session or per user. This means if you have a goal for order confirmation and a single user completes multiple transactions, so he reaches the goal page multiple times, so he reaches the checkout page multiple times, just because he is in a given visit, of course, just because he is one user, it will count as it will only count for the first order in the goal reports. And other third-party tools, that as well might not be the case. As well for transactions, unlike goal reports on e-commerce, an e-commerce transaction is counted each time a unique transaction is put through by given users, regardless of how many transactions are made in a given visit. That is for terminal. As well, data attributed to a conversion, and those are very few metrics here. I'm just giving them as examples to show you that we calculate things, or the way we calculate things with analytics could be different than the way third-party tools calculate things. So similarly, for instance, data attributed to conversions, Google Analytics attributes a conversion to the day it happened. Other platforms, it would attribute it, for example, to the date of the click. So an AdWords conversion within Google products, between Google Analytics and Google AdWords, that changes. So it might definitely be the case for third-party tools, where other third-party tools might attribute the conversion to the date of click and not to the day it happened as an analytics. And so that pretty much it would sum up some of the main metrics that you might feel that there are some discrepancies between analytics and third-party tools. And you need to know that if 2 reporting systems that are not the same, it's highly unlikely for them to report in the exact same way. So you need to be aware that systems do work differently, and you should expect reporting differences. So that is it. As I said, that was our last question for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions regarding conversion tracking or anything else, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are available on email, chat, and phone. You can reach us from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Emirates time, or 8 a.m. Or 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dublin time or Irish time. You can reach out to us via phone and via chat, and we would answer your questions on the spot. And if you prefer, you can send us an email. We should get back to you within 24 hours. So thank you again, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next Hangout on Air.